Ever sat down for movie night, hit play, and realized the soundbar you just bought looks amazing on the photo but ends up sounding like it's coming from a tiny TV speaker? It's a common frustration, especially when you've spent a good chunk of money expecting a home theater upgrade and end up hearing muffled dialogue and thin bass. I've seen that happen enough to make me double-check every spec sheet before I hit add to cart. That's why I'm breaking down the Marshall Heston 60 soundbar and its companion Heston Sub 200, so you can avoid the looks good, sounds bad trap. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of room the Heston 60 is built for. The bundle comes with a 60cm soundbar and a separate wireless subwoofer, which together aim to fill a medium-sized living room. Think a space that comfortably seats 5 to 6 people and has a standard TV size of 55-inch or a bit larger. If you're living in a studio apartment or a gigantic open-plan area, the Heston system will sit somewhere in the middle. It'll lift the audio above the built-in TV speakers, but you might still need a second sub or rear speakers for truly cinematic immersion. That's something to keep in mind before you decide if it's the right fit for your space. Dialogue clarity is where many soundbars stumble, and the Heston 60 tries to address that with its Dolby Atmos processing. In practice, the Atmos engine does a decent job of pulling vocal tracks forward, making it easier to follow fast-talking scenes in action movies or the rapid banter in sitcoms. I tested it with a dialogue-heavy thriller, and the voices stayed intelligible without cranking the volume. The real win, however, comes from the dedicated subwoofer. The Heston Sub 200 is wireless, so you can place it anywhere on the floor or even tuck it behind a couch, and it delivers a punchy low end that you actually feel during explosions. The bass isn't just a rumble, it's tight enough to add impact without overwhelming the mids. For music lovers, that deep, but controlled, bass makes bass-heavy tracks feel more lively than a typical TV speaker would. Now, the surround effect. The Heston 60 doesn't come with rear speakers, so it relies on virtual surround processing to simulate a wider soundstage. In a side-by-side seat, you'll notice a modest widening of ambient sounds, think rain or crowd noise spreading beyond the front speakers. It isn't a full 5.1 experience, but for the price point, it does give you a sense of space that most basic soundbars lack. If you're watching a big-budget sci-fi epic, you'll still feel that the action is centered, but you won't get the exact directional cues you'd have with a dedicated surround setup. The trade-off is the simplicity of a two-piece system versus the hassle of wiring extra speakers. Connectivity is where Marshall tries to stand out. The Heston 60 supports Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and a standard HDMI ARC connection. I paired it with my phone over Bluetooth to stream a Spotify playlist, and the dropout was minimal, even when I moved a few feet away. The Wi-Fi module lets you pull content from a smart TV or a streaming device without needing an extra cable, which is handy if you're trying to keep the TV back panel uncluttered. The HDMI ARC port is the real workhorse for TV audio. Plug it in, set your TV's audio output to ARC, and you're good to go. One hiccup I noticed is that the Bluetooth pairing can be a little finicky on older phones. You might need to forget the device and repair if you run into connection drops. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth a quick check before you settle in. Remote control friction is another practical point. Marshall includes a small, rectangular remote that handles volume, source switching, and mode selection. The buttons have a satisfying click, but the layout can be confusing at first, especially the mode button that toggles between movie, music, and game presets. There's no dedicated dialogue boost, so if you need extra vocal clarity, you'll have to dig into the on-screen menu using your TV remote or the companion app. Speaking of the app, the Marshall app lets you tweak EQ settings, adjust the subwoofer level, and switch between Bluetooth and Wi-Fi sources. The app is fairly intuitive, but it does require a firmware update the first time you launch it, which can be a minor annoyance if you're eager to start watching right away. Let's get to the question of value for money. The Heston 60 Plus Sub 200 bundle sits in the higher mid-range of soundbars, cheaper than a full 5.1 system, but more expensive than the entry-level sticks you see on big box sites. What you get in return is a brand name that evokes classic amp aesthetics and a sound signature that leans toward rock-friendly mids and robust lows. If you're primarily watching movies and want a noticeable upgrade from built-in TV speakers without breaking the bank, the bundle feels justified.